Waiting for the red light. Oh, here we go. We're live. They tricked me. The little red box came up on the right-hand side instead of the left-hand side every time. I don't know. I'm ready. I'm here. So for those of you out there, just do me a solid and let me know that you can hear me and see me fine. We are, after all, live, and, you know, there could be a Starlink thing above my house that I don't know about. So let me know if you can hear me and see me. We got people coming in from all over the place. Wake Forest, North Carolina, Smyrna Beach, Florida, Winnipeg. I used to go to Winnipeg every year with my dad. Love it up there. Okay, Greg, how you doing? I haven't seen you for a couple of months. Daniel Miller, where else we got here? Just giving people an extra second to roll in here before we get started. Everybody can seem to hear me. Right on. Oslo, holy cow. I think that's in South America. Pretty sure, somewhere down there. San Diego, San Clemente. I used to live just north of there for many, many years. I started my California life in Laguna Beach, and then I ended up in LA, and then I went to Costa Mesa forever. My wife's calling me, knowing I'm on a live event. That is, you know, I don't even know what that is. But anyway, okay, so we're going to start. This is a class about editing, but before we get to the editing, here's what's going to happen. And first of all, thank everybody for taking time out of your day to be here. I appreciate it. We have an hour. There's only so much we can do about editing in an hour, but just remember, and this is not a cliche, editing is an art form. There was for decades and decades and decades, there was a position in photography called photography editor. And a lot of these positions still exist at places like Nat Geo, the big magazines. A lot of commercial brands have photography editors. It's a job that still exists, but just not in the same numbers as it once did. It is a very specific skill. The best editors I know were not photographers. Think about that for a second. The best editors were not photographers. All they did was edit photography. I went to photo school with a guy. We were dressed like, you know, no one had any money. We were all dressed like, you know, vagabonds. And here comes this kid in a suit and tie every day to class. And he knew from day one when we asked him, I said, what are you doing in photography? He goes, I'm never going to be a photographer. I'm going to get a degree in photography, but I'm going to be an editor in New York. And guess what? 35 years later, he still is. So thank you for being here. And also thanks to Aaron and Michelle, who are behind the scenes here at Blurb, helping put on this production, because without them, I wouldn't be here. There's no way I could figure out how to do this on my own. So before we get started, a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Number one, whenever we do a public event like this, and if you're going to submit in the future, don't worry about me trashing you or, you know, bashing your work. When I was coming up as a photographer, this happened to me quite a few times. It was just the way things were done back then. I never really found it helpful. So I'm going to give you constructive criticism, but I'm not here to like break you down. I'm here to build you up and help you become a better editor. So let's see here. What's number 2 on my list? Oh, your name should be on your files. And I have to say, everyone I chose to review, you had enough, most people had their names on it, and other people had identifying characteristics that made it easy for me. So you always want that information to travel with any file of yours that goes out into the wild. Number 3, you don't need to submit huge files, because if I was a nefarious character, and some of you might even think I am, if you've seen my YouTube channel, I don't know. I can't judge, but there's nothing stopping me if you send a huge file from printing it. And I've had people do that with my work. I've even had people dig my transparencies out of the trash and claim that they were there. So weird things happen. Number 4, if I have an in-depth online conversation with you already, I probably skipped over choosing your work to be edited, because we're also doing that. We're already doing that outside. Number 5, 6, whatever this is, a lot of you are submitting work that I would say, well, this goes both ways. Some of you are submitting what I would call thematic work. So the first body of work we're going to look at is from Daniel, who's on the call. It's a thematic work about a project. Others are submitting more random. Random is a far harder thing to edit than thematic. So even if you're, let's say, a street photographer, you can always have a theme in your pocket as a street photographer. It could be something as simple as a color. I'm going to be a street photographer today, but I'm going to look for things that are of a certain palette And then when you're making these photos, you suddenly have a theme, a narrative to go along with them. So that's just something to think about. The next thing is your camera kit and your materials really don't matter as a photographer. So if you want to shoot film, shoot film. You want to shoot digital, that's totally fine. But you don't need to necessarily describe that to anyone, because no one at a certain level of photography is really going to care unless it is such a part of the thing. Like you've invented some new kind of chemistry, or you've somehow built a coating alley and you're making your own film. That's kind of a story. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. The last two last things, write. So some of you wrote not even an artist statement, a description of the work, which we're going to go through. And it's awesome. And others didn't give me enough. So you've got to write. And I suggest you write every day. Just keep a notebook and write whatever comes filtering through your brain. It's very important. When I teach workshops, we spend a lot of time writing. And I also give just as many writing assignments as I do photography assignments over the course of a 2-week workshop. So it's important. Last thing, don't rush trying to get good. We live in a world that's a high pace, high stress, now kind of thing. But getting good at photography takes a long time. It took me 10 years shooting every day professionally before I finally figured out what I was doing. No joke. I hope it doesn't take you that long, but it certainly took me that long. And yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, but I survived and I'm still here. And I have to say, the day that I figured it out felt really good. I felt an enormous weight come off my back. Okay, so let me share my screen. I'm gonna do one thing here. Hold the phone. I'm gonna do a window, and hang on. Let me go here, and I'm going to go here, share, and I'm gonna go here. First thing I'm gonna do, and again, I'm gonna do this little presentation, and then we're gonna get to the editing. I've decided to err on the side of fewer people to review so we can spend more time with each person. So we have plenty of time, but I just want to give you a quick story and show you this presentation. So let me go to view, full screen. Hopefully you guys can see this. So a quick story. When I lived in Los Angeles, a friend of mine was the CEO and director of a company that created an annual book that was about commercial and advertising photography. So if you were a professional commercial photographer, advertising photographer, you bought a single 2-page spread in the book, and it was huge. Every agency, every client, everybody would get a copy of this book. It was your marketing. It was a huge part of your marketing during the year. That's how things worked back then, pre-internet. So she was a friend of mine. We'd never worked together, but she was running this company that created the book. And she came to the house one day, and she said, we were just hanging out. I was doing my things, and I had some of my work out on the light table. And she looked at the light table, and she looked at the work and said, wow, is this your work? And I said, yeah. And she goes, oh, I had no idea. And what she was saying was, hey, you've got some skill, like you have some chops here. I didn't know. So she said, you should have me edit your work. So we made an appointment. A couple of weeks later, she comes over. I have all these stories laid out on the light table. So there's a story on Sicily. There's a story on North Shore of Oahu. There's all these different things. And she starts editing, and I said something. I don't remember what I said, but I just said something. And she stopped and looked at me and said, I am not your friend right now. I am your editor. And when I'm done, I will turn my hat back around and I will become your friend again. But until then, I'm your editor. And I never forgot that. That's how important it is when someone sits to edit your work. And the second thing that happened was she pulled all these pictures, and instead of editing down each story, she pulled pictures from each story and then compiled those together. And I said, wait a minute, like those are all different stories. I don't know what you're doing, and those are not the best photographs. And she said to me, look, you don't know what you're talking about because you're a documentary photographer. I'm editing for advertising. So you've never edited for advertising before. You've only edited for doc work, and you've only edited for magazines. This is totally different. And the moral of the story is, when we go through work today and look at work, you always have to keep in mind what you're editing for. Are you editing for a single picture on the wall of your house, or are you editing to make a book, or editing to send to a magazine so that they'll print the work? So everything is slightly different. Okay, let's talk a little bit numbers. This is a typical example of editing numbers. This is what I did in Japan last year. I was teaching a photo workshop and bookmaking workshop in Japan, and I shot a total of 1,300 images. The first edit of that work took it from 1,305 to 300. The next edit took it to 52. The next to 20. The last edit was down to 11, and the publication that I made, and what I do is I took the Japanese, like the last 50 pictures, and I made small prints. They look like this. I love making small prints. I put them out on a table so that I can really see them. It's much easier than editing on a laptop or a big screen because you can move things around. It's much easier to edit and let it edit this way. And then there were seven or eight photographs total in the publication. It was called American Candy. Very simple, kind of a portfolio style publication. It was a MagCloud Digest, but that is what it takes to edit. I just came back from Morocco. Same thing, 1,200 to 108 to 100 to 50 to 10. And I made a book called A Mostly True Story, which looks like this. It's very simple, but you'll notice how much room all these photographs are getting on the page. So they're super simple, very clean, but that's kind of what we're after. And yes, I'm clicking through the portfolio. We can't see the screen changes. All right, so one more time here. Hang on, folks. Yes, I was clicking through, and sometimes the screen share works and sometimes it doesn't. So, okay, I'm going to go back here and I will just show you. There's only a couple of slides. So what I was saying earlier is, and hopefully you'll be able to, let me see this. Yes. So this is what the small prints look like when I lay them out on a table and do the edit. And this is what the publication, the little MagCloud publication from Japan looks like. And this is the numbers from Morocco. And that's the kind of editing that you have to do. And here's what happens. So let me just show you this. These are the spreads from the book I just produced from Morocco. You'll see pretty simple. I like to give images space to breathe on the page, and I don't like book spreads that have 2, 3, 4, 5 images on a page. I just don't like that. So we're going to skip that one. And really the last lesson here for editing is less is more. It sounds like a cliche. It's not, because here's the thing, and I'm going to stop sharing so you can see my beautiful face here again. I look at a ton of photography and I look at a ton of books. And I see books where people have included 100 photographs. They've included 150 or 200 photographs. And I always ask the author, when is the last time that you looked at a book with that many photographs? And most of the time they can't come back with an answer, because most photography books that are published through traditional publishers, they don't have that number of photographs because we simply don't have the attention span to sit through those kind of things. So less is more, super tight. And when you come up as a photographer, I came up in journalism, which is very, very rigid and hardcore about editing. But the cliche at the time was you were always judged by your weakest image. So if you thought you needed 10 images and you had 9 that fit the bill, but you thought, oh, 10 seems way better than 9, and you put a 10th image in that wasn't quite as good as the other 9, a good editor is going to spot that immediately. And they're going to say, oh, you're not so good at editing because this last picture ruined your edit. So that's the kind of thinking that you have to come to. It's always better to go with less than more, and also to eliminate duplicates. So let me share my screen again, and we're going to start editing the work. But before I do that, any questions so far, leave them in the chat, because if you don't ask questions, I'm going to be offended. Because, and again, remember, there's only so much we can do in an hour. Editing is a super tough thing. So if we have any questions that anybody wants to ask, put them in there, and I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to take a look at the first selected person today, right? All right. Share screen, entire screen. Here we go. And let me move this little annoying button at the bottom and go to bridge. And we're going to first look at Daniel Miller. Now, I'm going to read Daniel's description here. But before I do this, my name is Daniel Milnor. We have this Daniel Miller, and there's another Daniel Miller who is a gallery owner in Los Angeles, who, if you don't know, look him up, because he's really super cool and is always doing something that no one else is doing. So I think the three of us should go back to Mongolia together and do a project because it would confuse everyone and that would be kind of fun. So Daniel writes, the UN has declared 2026 the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists, which I didn't know. That's super interesting. To create awareness of pastoralists, nomads, and herders, I've worked in Nepal, Bhutan, and Tibetan areas of China and Mongolia over the last 50 years. That is astounding. I've selected these 10 images to help tell the story of rangelands and pastoralists. So, okay, cool. So he gave me enough of a description here, gave me something I didn't know, which is this whole UN Year of the Rangelands and Pastoralists. That's pretty cool. So let's have a look at the work. I'm going to go through these. Hopefully everyone can see these full screen as I'm flipping through them. So we've got some horses. I'm going to go through these, then we're going to come back. Portrait, kids and dog, sort of a mid-range portrait. Lovely, lovely portrait here. Sort of a middle distance portrait. Wide scene setter. Another portrait, which I really like. Another portrait. Okay. So I'm going to jump back out to this screen. I would immediately break these into a couple of different categories. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 portraits, maybe 5 if you include this one, but it's a little bit more contextual. You've got 5 portraits. You've got a scene setter here, a scene setter here, and a scene setter here. Now, I'm also eliminating, right off the bat, I'm eliminating this picture, and I'm eliminating this picture. Now, is there anything wrong with these? No, but it is really hard to get a picture of kids, pets, or animals past me because there's kind of a cutesy factor to them. I mean, who doesn't love this picture? And depending on what your destination is, what your goal is, you potentially could use this, but I'm not a big fan of pictures like this because they don't seem to have the same resonance that something as serious as this has. I think this is an absolute beautiful image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the ones I want up here to the front. I think that portrait, this portrait are fantastic. This portrait to me is not quite the same because and I could be completely wrong about this, but it looks like she was kind of walking somewhere and you stopped and asked for a portrait or there was something else going on. I feel like there's a bit of someone, it's a different feeling with the pose that I get with these other portraits. And to me, this reminds me of the famous Dorothea Lange photograph. I think this is an absolutely stunning photograph. And if you are looking for emotional resonance, this look right here is as honest as you are going to get. That is like a true moment in photography. I love this picture. I think this dude looks serious. I'm definitely not going to cross him. I love it. The light's great. I love the cigarette, the hat. Everything is super solid as well. Same with this. I think it's a beautiful picture. I don't know if we need 3 portraits. So I'm going to edit all this stuff down. The thing I don't see that I would love to see, I think this is an okay scene setter. And I kind of feel like we have to have this image in here because you need to know a little bit more about where these people are. I don't think this one works as well. And I don't think this one works as well. Maybe if this person was turned around and sort of looking back at me, I would feel differently about it. I think, Daniel, you probably have something. If I saw a wider selection, I would probably like that more. But if I was editing this down, I would have this picture for sure. I'd have the scene setter. I would have this, an extra portrait. I love this photograph, but because we have a female here, I would say rounding it out with the male. I love the ponytails and the hat. Gives me a sense of like the clothing that they're wearing. And this is a good scene setter in the middle. So if I had to do 3 pictures, edit from your 10 to 3, those would be the 3. And then again, I would be asking you for a wider take because I want to see more scene setters and sort of middle distance stuff. But if I had to take this to 1, that, and I know it doesn't totally give me context, but it's super powerful. It's very simple. It's very clean. It reads. My wife would freak out over this. She makes jewelry, so she would love this. That gives me a context of where I am. This little hand right here with the child. And again, this makes me want to, this is a cover photograph. If you think about National Geographic through time, National Geographic covers look exactly like this. National Geographic covers do not look like this. It's too much. Your eye goes all over the place. White tent, white tent, white tent, smoke, people, horses. This, on the other hand, is impossible to miss. So if I had to take this down to 1, that's what I would be doing. And again, these others, there's nothing wrong with these top 4. I think are great. The horse picture is fine. Again, if I'm editing for a book or something, it would work. But that's sort of my take on this body of work. Okay, let's move on to Evelyn. And Evelyn did us a super solid here, but let me just take a look at this real fast. Oops, sorry. Let me, I like to photograph life as it happens to create an image that tells a human story. So I usually work at close range, never pose people, work quickly to avoid, try to catch the moment and try to include elements that contribute to the story. What you'll see in a second is Evelyn gets very close, which is really fun to see. They're all taken 35 millimeter. I'm not really concerned about camera stuff. Photos were taken on a trip to Guizhou province, China during the market time. Selected a favorite image of the first 8, but it's always difficult selection process and no single photo ever has all the elements. Oh, I beg to differ, Evelyn. Between 9 and 10, I do have my preferences, but it's a choice between the synchronicity and humor. Well, we're going to get to that. So let's have a look at these pics. Whoops, here we go. So sort of a mid-range shot here of the market itself. I love the fact that it's a market on the back of a flatbed truck, kind of a small market. Love the clothing on the woman on the right and the little kid. Another same thing. And now we sort of go into section 2. And if we go back out of here, you can see these pictures are kind of one distance. And now we get into this super tight distance here. And then we have a wider picture here. So now we're moving into the tighter section. So we got this one, 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 and this one. So this is super easy. You've got 3 kinds of work. You got mid distance, you've got super tight, and you've got these wide shots. Let's start with these. This and this. To me, clearly this picture, much cleaner, much simpler to read. My eye goes right here to my eye goes right to what's on the truck. It's impossible. I like the spacing of these people. It's clean and simple. He's got a nice expression. This one, my eye goes right here. I completely miss all of this stuff. So that's out for me. Now the tight ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This woman, great expression, but is it enough to carry the image? Not for me. This one kind of, it's okay. There's stuff happening, you know, it's informational. This I like. This one, kind of informational. It's okay. I do like the arm coming in. I would call this a B photograph, maybe not the A photo, but the B. This one, not enough. I can't really see what's happening there. And again, this one's okay. But to me, compositionally, this one look at this foreground. Look at how tight she is right up on top of people. You have the nice gesture of the hand. I can see what they're selling. And then you have the mid-ground of these 2 perfectly framed. And you have this in the background. That's your middle distance image right there. But it gets better. Wait, there's more. This one and this one. Look at this. This. Should be very simple to pick which one. This is fine. It's good. But look at these gentlemen here. Look at what they're doing. Look at him. Look at this person. Look at her face down. Now look at that one. Look at, you've got a haircut action happening here. You've got this guy making a face, getting his haircut. He's perfectly framed. He's smiling. She's now looking back towards these guys and she's looking up and away. This is a really good image. This is a classic image of what you do with a wide angle lens or middle distance. You know, this could be a 40 mil, 35, 40, 50 mil, something like that. This is a beautiful photograph. It's by far the strongest photo here. So I'm going to move this up to the pole position here. And I'm going to take the image that I had, the one from the middle distance, and there you go. There are your top 3. So if we start here and we move in, we go here, scene setter, clean, simple, easy read. Right in the midst, super tight, in super close. There's nothing distracting you. I feel like I'm sort of in this woman's pocket. I'm so close. And that's a skill. I commend you for being able to get that close. A lot of people are afraid to do this, but you have to do it as a documentary photographer. So good job. And then this is a gem. This is a super gem. That's a print you could put on the wall. That's a really beautiful frame. So super easy. For me, Evelyn Nodwell, that was a really great editing exercise. That's how you do it. You don't need any more images than that. And if I had to only choose one, you know which one. This one right here. All right, we're going on to Francesca. So this story I put in here, this story blows me away, but let's have a look at the description. I've always felt the street in New York presents me with the people, the images, and the colors that resonate with what I'm currently going through emotionally or psychologically. At the same time, on a geographical level, since I'm alone most of the time, the click of the camera and the final image end up pinning a pin on the map of my steps. I don't go looking for a photograph. It's what comes before me, what appears on my path, on my trail, or what I will call my theaters. The etymology of the word obvious comes to mind from obvium, meaning what is evident because it stands in front of you across the road, literally in the midst of the street. What I photograph is my obvious, part of my day and my travels. It's something that enters my routine and my view, creating something not obvious at all. La meraviglia, or a sense of wonder. I hope I didn't completely butcher that pronunciation. So this project kind of blows me away in a good way. So let's have a look, run through these pics. These are shot in New York. Wow. Okay, so this is a slightly trickier editing assignment because clearly these pictures are of a theme and they are very similar in terms of how far she is from the subject, with one exception, which is this gentleman here. So most of them are at this distance. And what I love is what she describes in the artist statement. She's photographing stuff that most of us would walk right by. I would never make these photographs. And yet I look at some of these and I go, God, that's a really nice frame. This is a person who is making the absolute most of what life is giving her and putting in front of her. That is such a commendable thing. A lot of us think, I'm packing, right now I'm planning for a trip to Patagonia. A lot of times we think about, oh, we got to go to these exotic places to make photographs. This work's being made in her daily life on the way to and from work. I love this. It's a harder editing thing because they work better as a group than as a standalone. I have my favorites here, but let's again go through here. I like this. This one, maybe not quite as much. This I love. This I like. This I like. Because the people, even though they're in the midst of this chaos and noise, it feels like they are completely alone and isolated. This one I like, caught in the moment. This one I really like. I think this is super strong for a lot of reasons. And this to me could be the piece de resistance. I mean, look at that outfit and that hat and just kind of the spacing. I like the tracks. I like the repeated yellow on top with the lights and the sort of rail here in the background. Very nice picture. This one probably not quite as much. So again, I'm going to go these two for sure up here to the top. And I think one of the skateboard kids, I think it's this one because I do like the light on this guy. I would have cropped this white right here out. It's kind of distracting on the right-hand side. This I like too. It's a little, I don't know. It's for some reason, it doesn't quite jump out, even though I love the Broadway Junction in the back. Maybe it's the sign at the top, Euclid and Queens and Buy Local. It's a bit distracting. My eye goes up and down, up and down. This one I do like as well, but it's hard. Remember, we're trying to cut these now. We're cutting from the top to 3 to 2 to 1. So I like the color palette shift here as well. You have warm to cool to warm. I really like this. I think, first of all, the lighting, with the lighting, you have this dynamic element of your eye moving down all of these lines pointing down this trail. And also this person's hair is so reflective of everything else that's going on in here. It's a very stylish, cool outfit they've got on. It's a moment. Why they're standing stopped in the middle of this particular location, which looks like a great place to get run over by a bicycle, I don't know, but I think it's a really beautiful frame. But if I had to guess, it would be this one because, and there's one simple factor here. Look at her face. I can't see his face or the woman holding the trash cans. I can't see their faces. And I kind of can see this person's face, but not really. And there's something about being able to see just a little bit, even one eye, that I think is really nice. But here's the thing, Francesca, this is a really nice, I would even consider as a standalone, again, it's going to be a hard thing to sell, but as a series, it's really good. I would love to see a triptych, little print piece triptych of these three printed together, or if you choose a different edit where, you know, a little printed piece where it just shows you write that same concept you did, but then I see 2 to 3 or 4 of these images. I think this in particular, and this is why, one of the reasons why I chose this story was I think it's a perfect example of something that works well in a series, and it doesn't necessarily need to be edited down to a single image. It's more about volume here of catching these people in the midst of a huge city, but seemingly completely alone. I think it's a great story, really fun, and you should keep plugging on this. So good job. All right. We're going to talk about, next up is Lenard. And let me just have a look-see here to make sure everything. Wow, it looks like the chat. You guys are having a little conversation in the chat. That makes me happy. All right, let's talk about Lenard Bettencourt. Okay, Lenard, doing some gig shots for a friend that plays in a punk band and a psychobilly band. Just trying to find my stride, I guess, which I think I've started to find and could use some constructive critique on keeping the right photographs. So now I would write a little bit more, Lenard. I want a little bit more. Like, I hear psychobilly and I'm like, I kind of know what that is, but I'm old and I can't dance. And I don't know, maybe there's something more I need to know there, but I get where you're going here. So music, I chose this for a lot of reasons, but a lot of people get started in photography, photographing music. It's kind of amazing how many people start their careers doing this. I think one, it's people have a love of music, rightly so, but also it's something they can sometimes get access to, especially when bands are smaller and they're starting out and they want coverage. And if they get somebody dedicated photographer to come in, a friend of mine started this way. And some of you probably know him, Fleming, who's based in Copenhagen, Denmark. He now shoots for Red Bull Music, and he shoots music full time, and his work is absolutely beautiful. No idea how he does it and how he's not deaf by now, but seemingly he can still hear. So let's have a look at this. Music photography is not easy. It's hard. You are limited by where you can go, often how long you can be there, and the lighting is really difficult. So let's have a look, run through these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I thought there was one more in this category, but I don't know. I thought there was one more, but maybe I'm mistaken. So there's one here that sort of jumps out at me. So when I look at pictures like this is super cool. This is the shafts of light make this amazing. This could be a good cover for something. So I'm going to leave this up here towards the top. The next ones feel like there's absolutely nothing wrong with these images. They feel like photographs of individual artists. So like this, got the drummer going here, maybe the same guy. Yep, drummer. He's doing his thing. You got the lead guitar here. And you've got multiple people in the same frame, which is to me more of what I'm looking for if I'm trying to get a feel for what the band is overall. So this to me potentially is the keeper because it gives me an idea that I'm probably not listening to a country band or like a polka band for that example. This is something crazy is happening here. And this gives me that feeling. Again, clean, simple, good smoke. I like it. Same with her. I think this looks really good if it was for an individual, but I think this to me is the shot that gives me a feel for what this band is. So think about that. Again, nothing wrong with these portraits of these people individually. And also remember, Lenard's photographing in a situation where the lighting it's changing. It's super contrasty. It's dark and absolutely jet black dark in some places and then bright spotlight hot in others. It's not an easy place to photograph. So the second one that kind of gives me an idea of the band is this, but it doesn't have the same energy that this one does because this guy is that's everything I need to know right there. And this with the hair and the face paint and her base hands coming in like this kind of gives me that feel. As a secondary image, like a follow-up image, this one is super cool. It's just graphic. Like it's beautiful and graphic. If I had to choose a third one, it would depend on which member of the band is the most well-known. So if this is the person that is legendary with this instrument, then that becomes even potentially secondarily that second image. These become redundant unless I'm editing for a book or something more. So again, if I'm taking this from 9 images or 8 images to 3, these are the 3, 1, 2, 3. And if I'm editing this down to 1, it's right there. And this is as much about information as it is about aesthetics. If you're trying to get people to understand, hey, what band are you going to go to see tonight? We're going to go see these guys. Well, what kind of music is it? Well, just look at this photo. Yeah, it should tell you enough right there. Are you going to get that from this? Maybe because, you know, this is really cool. Got a lot of attitude happening here. And same for this, but I think that says it better than anything else. So again, keep shooting. All righty then. We are at, what do we got? 2 more? Mary and Monty. All right, this one's a little more challenging, which is also why I put it in here. And let me just have a look-see at the, yeah, okay, cool. Yes, and again, thanks to everybody for sharing. It is kind of fun when you submit work and you don't know how many people are going to see it or what the critique's going to be. Remember, I'm not bashing anyone, so no one's going to get bashed, but it's always a little bit like, oh no, everyone's going to see my work kind of thing. I feel the same way after 35 years of doing photography. But okay, so this is from Mary. And she wrote, I spent a recent evening shooting at McKinney Falls State Park here in Austin. I hope to work on the slow shutter waterfall effects, but the drought has reduced the falls to a trickle. But in the cool evening light, the dried up falls were an interesting subject for capturing texture and form. It's a reminder for us photographers to work with whatever's in front of us as opposed to what we have planned. That's a very good point. We talked about it earlier saying, hey, you don't need to go to Zimbabwe to get exotic photography. You can do it anywhere. So that's a good point. Now, Mary, my mom used to live very close to McKinney Falls. So when I saw these pictures for the first time, I was like, oh my God, the last time I saw McKinney Falls, I was terrified to even get close to it because it was running so hot that running so high that I was like, if I get sucked in, they're never going to find me. So I'm kind of bummed to see the lack of water, but it's also still beautiful. So just off the bat, everyone out there, if this is image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just aesthetically off the surface, what image doesn't belong? Image 8. Now, I get where you're going here. And this kind of works. Again, if I'm editing for a book or if I'm doing a more of like an editorial piece on McKinney Falls, well, then this potentially could work. It's too dark for me. I would definitely open this up. I would open up the shadows. But imagine running a title right here, you know, like drought hits Texas or whatever right here. This could conceivably work really well. But if I'm editing these down as a tight little portfolio, this picture is definitely not going to make it. So let's go up to the front, start here. Okay. And she's still got a little bit of that slow motion, you know, long shutter, a little motion of the little wisp of water, which is actually really important. Now, when I first saw this picture, I kind of spaced out and I forgot what I was looking at. And I kind of got tricked by the scale. And I thought, am I standing on the rim of a massive canyon? And then I looked over and I saw this little twig and I was like, no, this is relatively small. I'm not standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon. This is, you know, McKinney Falls. So that works in your favor. That is a good thing. If you can trick me accidentally, it means that I'm paying attention to what's in front of me and you're getting my undivided attention, which is a good thing. Okay, so this one here, we've got quite a few with this log that's jammed in there. This one, which I really like, we'll get back to this in a minute. This, which is similar, different crop, got a little sort of squarish vertical, horizontal, got the log, although it's cropped off down here in the bottom. We got this one, we got this, but guess what? So I like this, but now because you've cropped off this, now this could be sky. I could be looking at the sky, which now I'm like, I don't really know what I'm looking at. So I'm not sure this works for me. This one I like, simple, clean. I think it's more successful than this one and this one because this is cropped here again at the bottom. And I think maybe you have almost too much up here. So this one works. And again, we're back to this. So for me, this one, I like. It's clean. I can see the green reflection, so I kind of know what's just out of frame. I like this meandering, nice dark navy line through here and this little wisp of water, which that screams drought. Like it's still going, but it's on life support. So I like that. This one kind of is a middle frame. Nothing jumps out at me. This I love. I really like this as well. This is really important. This little bit of swirl from the longer exposure. You're showing me I have this beautiful line coming in here. I have a beautiful line. My eye goes straight down here. I still get a little bit of the log. And then I can see context of where I am. I see a dry shoreline, which also tells me, oh, that's sandy. That's probably underwater at some point. And it shows me like, wow, this was cut. This is a pretty drought-stricken place. So this one is good too, but man, I still think my eye goes right here. And this one, my eye fights with going from here to up here, here to up here, here to up here. So I'm not sure that works as well for me. This one, no, because the crop. This one again, because I'm not really sure what I'm looking at, if it's sky or water. And this one's okay. It's more, I would say, classic, not this one. So I would take this and this. And then the third one, before we edit down to one, I would say it would probably be this one. But these two are the ones that jump out at me. And it's nice because you have a vertical and you have a horizontal. So if you're designing something or laying something out, but man, I go back and forth. This is a hard call. I thought I was going to move this into my pole position all along. I thought, oh, this is my sort of favorite one, but now I'm kind of feeling like this one is nice, but nope, I'm going with my first choice. I think this is good. Shows a little bit of motion here and gives me all the context I need. So again, this is a kind of project where you can walk away with a single image. And here's the other thing, Mary, and this is a lesson for everybody on this call. If you show this to 10 different photographers, you're going to get at least 7 different responses. So I'm one person with one opinion. Ultimately, you are the gatekeeper for your own work, but you're going to get multiple explanations from different photographers. It's just how it works. Okay, so last one is Monti. This is a bit more challenging. Monti, and not in a bad way, in a good way, because he's got some good stuff. Monti Smith, an exploration into the still honest moments of the facets of life that are anything but still or slow. Okay. First lesson, Monti. Remember, constructive criticism. I'm actually really nice in real life. Misspelled life, so I'm just going to correct that. But give me a little more, because it looks like obviously there's way more going on here than that description says. Because when I see 3 or 4 pictures of this Porsche, like when I see this picture and I see that picture, which is lovely, and I see this picture, I either think, is that your car? Or more likely someone hired you to photograph this car, which is cool. I think it's great. And I think these 3 photographs are amazing. But let's look at this as an overall piece first. So Monti's throwing a lot at us here, because we have color, we have black and white, we have at least 3 different, in my opinion, bodies of work. We have the Porsche, a la the beautiful shot. We have motorcycle culture, which is reflective here, and also here, which is an image I really like. And then we have kind of surf culture here out of the blue. Nice frame. I do like that a lot. And then we also have, well, we got 2 surf cultures down here. This one, not as much. It's a bit of a, it's a little more of a cliche. Easy, not enough to get me, because I worked around the surf industry when I worked at Kodak for a long time, working with all the photographers. So I know what's out there. This one, not as much. This one I like this could run in surf. That's kind of surfer's journal frame I really like. And then you've also got this stray red car here, which could be, that's like the Bonneville Salt Flats or El Mirage Salt Flats. This is like a stray. So I don't really know where that fits in. So I'm going to jettison this baby right off the bat. We already talked about your surf stuff. This one doesn't cut it for me. This one does. So I'm going to pull this up in the front, and this is going to be one of my keepers. Now, Motorcycle culture. This I like, action shot. This, yeah, I mean, the Porsche's in there as well, but not as much. This one kind of loses me. This I love. I really like this. I like context. There's action. The dust cloud is amazing. You're laying on the ground. You got down to the level that you should have to make this. I ride motorcycles and I ride in places like this. So anyone who does that, this photo just makes you like want to run from this phone call right now and get on my motorcycle, which I love. So I'm going to throw this one over here. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just maybe a little more expected, if you will. Brands are going to love this. Obviously the motorcycle maker is going to love it because you can see the bike a lot more. Whereas this one's more just about like culture. Now, where the Porsche fits in, I have no idea. But this picture is classic. Love. That could be a poster. Nothing wrong with it. This looks like an ad. It's beautiful. I'm a sucker for that light. But what I love is the fact of where you positioned yourself at what time of day. This is a professional photographer. Like that's what you do. You work in the good light. You have a foreground, a midground, and a background where the light's working throughout. Your exposure's perfect. That's like a home run ball right there. So I would put this here. This one is nice too. Anybody who lives in SoCal, like, you know, that's just the classic. That's what I wanted when I lived in SoCal was like, how do I get an old Porsche and like a, 10-foot board? And I never got either. So I'm resentful, Monty, just to be honest. But, again, it's between that one and this one. I'm taking this one in the late light. This one, again, kind of a stray surf culture thing, which I would throw in with this red car. I'm not really sure where they fit in. But like if I was cutting a little Monty portfolio, these 3 pictures right here are pretty good. I can't really edit to one because I don't know how these stories fit together other than they're representative of you as a photographer. So I really like these 3 photos, and I see a ton of photography like this because I love these brands. I love surfing. I love motorcycles. I love cars. So all this stuff, I see work like this a lot, but I really like these 3 photographs. If this was for the car brand, obviously I would take the Porsche pick, and for the moto brand and for whatever you're shooting for Roxy or, Rip Curl or whoever. So, but it's beautiful work. It's solid photography, and I think it's good. I don't know where these fit in. And to me, that was an immediate cut those out. I edited this when I first looked at it in about 10 seconds. I was like, 1, 2, 3. And again, nothing wrong with these others. Remember what I said about, and that was the last of our, there were 6 people total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people total. I'm going to stop sharing now and we can talk about some questions. Remember what I said earlier. What are you editing for? Who are you editing for? So that makes a huge difference on what you're going to put together. But this is the kind of thing. Editing is like bookmaking. It's like sequencing. Whatever time and energy you put into becoming the photographer you are, you will put equal time and energy into becoming that level of editor. That's what it takes. It's just, there's no other way around it. And here's another nice little thing to keep in mind. Many of the best photographers, and this goes back to my time at Kodak and 15 years at Blurb looking at books and photography, a lot of the best photographers are not good at editing their own work. I'll give you an example. We did a project a decade ago, maybe not even that long ago, let's say 7 years ago. We did a Blurb project with a famous photographer. We did a book and 2 magazines and then toured it around the world. And the day that we agreed to do the project, the photographer, I was sitting right next to him. He immediately got on the phone and he hired a book designer and an editor to put the work together. And I remember the Blurb marketing director at the time looked at me and said, but wait, he's a professional photographer. Why would he do that? And I said, because he knows he can't do either one of those things. He's a really good photographer. He's a legendary photographer, but he knows he can't edit his own work, and he's definitely not a book designer. So that even at the highest levels, they're always working as a team, working in tandem with people who are editing. So let's look at some questions here. Let me see if let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to grab some questions out of this chat. Question. Print or computer for culling, which one is better? Paco Navarro. Paco, for me, it's pretty simple. Prints are far easier and far better. And I don't have it in front of me because I'm completely unprepared. But those of you who know me know I keep a notebook. I write in a notebook every single day. Truth be told, and do not tell my wife, who's right behind that door, she would kill me. I just bought another fountain pen right before I came on this call. She has no idea. It's a really nice fountain pen. I write every day. And I take those prints that I showed you earlier from places like Japan or Morocco, and I end up gluing them in my notebooks, and then I write over the top of them or work over the top of them. The problem for all of us is we often don't have time. So if you're stuck, then you have to print, you have to edit off a screen. Obviously, the bigger screen you have, the better it is. I feel bad when I see people trying to edit sizable bodies of work on a laptop screen. Some people are masters at it, but most of us are not. So if you can really make that first cut, like you can do 50 small prints for so little money now. They're so inexpensive. It's definitely what I prefer. Oh yeah, I knew there'd be fountain pen people on this call. Okay. In the initial call, do you delete all the losers or do you save them and come back at a later date for another call? I do not delete anything ever for any reason. I do not want to hear you're doing this. I don't even want to hear you saying, well, it takes up so much space on drives. Storage is dirt cheap now. Do not throw things away. You will never find a bookmaker, a photo bookmaker at an elite level who throws anything away. And if you look historically through photography, and I have a bunch of examples, and the best example I can give is a subject matter I'm not going to discuss on this phone call. But 20 years ago, a photographer who keeps every image he did, there was something huge that happened in the news. And there was a person at the center of this controversy. And this photographer, who's a legend in the photojournalism Washington, D.C. world, said, I recognize that person. I don't know from where, but I recognize that person. He hired a researcher. The researcher went back and went through every single transparency he'd shot for like the past decade and found the person. And it became one of the biggest stories in the last 20 years in the United States. And if he'd have thrown those outtakes away, first of all, those pictures probably garnered him, ultimately, we're probably talking 7 figures worth of income from those photographs, from those usage of that photograph. I never throw anything away, ever. So it's a bad habit to get into, and also never do it in the field because you'll corrupt your cards. I do have a really funny card story, which I'm not going to tell because we don't have time. I'll just give you the cliff notes. No, I won't because we're running out of time. Okay. What's the average number of images for a photo essay or topical book? Unfortunately, Tiffany, there's no such thing. Chris Pickler from Nazareli Press is doing beautiful photo books with a single image, which is something I've been screaming at people for years you could do. You could take a single image, give it to 10 photographers and have them write fictional narratives as to what that image is. You could basically take a single image and write a novel with it. You could take a single image and give it to a bunch of critics and have them critique it. So there's a million ways to do this. Some of my favorite photo books of the last decade are very small. They have 10, 12, 15 images total. And I think that fits the collective attention span of the population now. The days of these giant coffee table books with 150 images that cost, so much money to produce, they're just not getting produced anymore. So it really is the number of images required to tell your story or get your point across and nothing more. It just cuts off mercilessly once that number has been reached. And it doesn't have to be an even number. It doesn't have to sound good. It could be 11. My favorite number, which is my lucky number, 13, could be 13. So it doesn't matter. Okay. What else do we got? How do you know when to stop? I sometimes edit, then edit, then edit again. So Andy, that's a great question. And one of my all-time favorite movies is Wonder Boys, which is based on the Michael Chabon book, where Michael Douglas is an author and he's gotten himself into this pickle where his first book was astounding and his second book, he can't stop writing. And he's written like 2,000 pages and his agent finds out and everyone's like, oh my God. And he goes, they're like, oh, why'd you do it? And he goes, I couldn't stop. So editing typically, and someone asked me this question the other day, when do you stop a project? And I'll use that answer to answer yours, which is I've stopped projects because I lost interest. I've stopped because I lost money. I stopped because I lost access. And I stopped when I finished, when I looked at the work and said, I have enough to tell the story I want to tell. I've also stopped because I realized halfway through my work was not good enough and I wanted to start over, which is an awful feeling, but it's true. And once you've done this long enough, you can't lie to yourself about whether your work's good or not. So it's really, Tiffany had a similar question, but when you can tell the story that you need to tell with no gaps or holes, you're done. Cut it, move on, go do another project. Okay, we probably have enough for maybe another question. And then if I remember, I could tell you the funny story about a card. But okay, question. How do you approach editing a street photo body of work spanning 10 plus years? Oof. Street photography is really hard. It's really hard. If it's 10 years in one city, one place, that's one thing. If it's 10 years of street photography scattered all over, that is a masterclass at editing. I would need to know what the story is, because here's the thing. Street photography is a peculiar field. It's a niche. It's small. It's very vibrant. The people in street photography community are as active as any community in the world, but it's a bubble, right? So it's a bubble. A lot of times street photographers are only making things for other street photographers and for that community. It never reaches the broader public. So to me, when I look at street photography, I think to myself, well, what's the story? What are you trying to say about these places and these people? So the writing becomes a huge component of street photography, because if you just show me a bunch of street photography pictures, you're showing me a portfolio. And I've seen a zillion street photography portfolios. So what's going to separate you from anyone else? I need more. I need to know your story as part of your street story. That's the narrative that connects all these things, unless you've done 10 years in one city, and then it could just be a visual history of the streets of this one particular place. But if not, you've got to give me more. There has to be a story. Otherwise, I'm just looking at a bunch of random street photography, which I've seen a lot, and people are really good at it now. So in fact, I have a student that was with me in Morocco. I've had him before in other places. He's better than the legends that everybody tries to emulate in the street photography community. He's better, and he can do it much quicker than the legends could have. So that's how far we've progressed as photographers. It's pretty exciting. In the initial call, do you delete all the losers, or do you save them and come back later, date another call? Wait a minute. Did I answer this one already? Okay, running out of time. Use the code culling30 to get off 30% off your next photo book. We really appreciate you coming. The next event, I believe, is on sequencing, which is a whole separate forgotten chapter of how to make books. November 3rd at 4 p.m., the edit series, where I'll be talking through imaging processes. Thank everyone for coming. And also thanks to Michelle and Air behind the scenes. And I'm easy to find. You can find me at shifter.media, or you can find me at my YouTube channel, or, send up a flare. Just go outside your house and I'll come running, or do the bat signal like they do in the Batman movies. Whatever your signal is, I will try to find it. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. I see a lot of familiar faces here, names, and cities and countries where people are tuning in. So yeah, we appreciate it. Again, editing takes practice. Find somebody that knows what they're doing, or even ask. I used to ask the UPS guy when I would lay prints on the floor, and when he'd deliver a package, I'd open the door and go, hey, can you help me? Like, which ones do you like or not like? So it's always fun to get a non-photographer perspective on your work as well. So everyone is very welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you next time.